Alright, so this is a short video explaining how the Offenhauser dual port intakes work. It's a very misunderstood intake. A lot of times people say they're not really a performance oriented intake. That's probably true for most of your stuff, 350 to 400 horsepower and up. But for most of your really low output engines, they're actually pretty ideal, especially the Ford 300. So this is how they work. So they are, in fact, a dual port. If you look, these ports have a divider in them. The smaller port on the bottom feeds this plenum, which is blocked off. You can't get to it. You can't get to the other side from here. It's completely blocked off. So as you can see, has a very shallow plenum, small port. What this does, your carburetor is meant to be mounted like this. Primaries here, secondaries here. So as you're going down the road, your primaries are feeding through the small plenum and the small port for throttle response, economy, and torque. Then you have this large plenum right here. The secondaries sit over this. The large plenum feeds these larger ports above the divider. So your carburetor, when you stand on it and your secondaries are open, you're flowing the secondaries through the large plenum, through the large port, to have your mid-range and top-end horsepower. And of course, when it's wide open, you're going to have flow through both of these. But in a nutshell, that's basically how a dual port intake works. It's kind of a dual plane, but you're dividing secondary from primary, or primary from secondary, vice versa. That's why you can't and shouldn't use an adapter to mount the carburetor like this, because then you already know. You talk about tuning issues from hell. And then if you flip it the other way around, obviously your primary is going to be feeding through your large plenum, large port, and it's going to be a total pig. And I don't know what would happen if the secondaries opened up on the small ports. It'd probably act pretty strange. But this is why on a dual port intake, especially for a Ford 300, this specific application, the carburetor mounts primary here, secondary here, because it actually is a dual port. Small ports for the primary and the small plenum, large ports for the larger plenum on the secondary. That's why they're designed that way. It's supposed to be the best of both worlds, power and economy, horsepower and torque.